Hello, and welcome to another episode of Houston. We have a podcast. Um, we're doing things a little different today. I am your co-host today, host Paolo, joined as always by your host, now co-host Carson. We're flipping the script because we're talking about something a little different today. We're getting serious for once. Not really, but with I I wanted to talk about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. It has to do with my culture, being Filipino, and the recent release. Well, not recent; it's been out for a little while, but the release of the Easter Sunday movie, which is like Filipino propaganda, and like I wanted to tie that into a conversation about representation in movies and TV shows a little bit, framed with my own experience as a Filipino person and getting Carson's Carson's unique perspective as a
My
as a
unique
straight white man.
perspective as a straight white man who has no idea what representation in film really means, which is actually a question I wanted to get into, but I'll get into that later.
Okay, cool. I'm really curious to hear what that is. But yeah, so like I mentioned, yeah, this is something that's been interesting me for a while now. I mean, like just around showbiz and like how you always hear about how there's a lack of representation. Like it's always the leading people are always the same, and it's always a struggle to get like movies that are focused on other cultures um, out and like successful. I mean, obviously some exceptions, and there's been like a bit of a swing in recent years. But I mean, I was specifically looking at this in again in my own experience with because there's not a lot of. I mean, probably the most famous Filipino person in a movie was Ned in Spider-Man, which is his best friend in like which top of my head. So yeah, um I think we're gonna start off by talking about the actual Easter Sunday movie. So I'll describe it because I'm fairly certain not a lot of people have watched this movie. And to be honest, I understand. Um, it's basically it's a vehicle for Joe Coy, who's a Filipino or half Filipino stand-up comedian, to tell his stand-up jokes with a bit of a story, like a kind of a strange, nonsensical story wrapped around it. It's basically he's trying to reconcile with his son, so he takes him on a road trip to meet his extended family or get together with his extended family for Easter Sunday, which is as he describes like the Filipino Super Bowl. And then he has to deal with like a bunch of family drama, and there's like random side plot, like the shoehorned side plot for to make it a comedy movie, where he has to sell Manny Pacquiao's boxing gloves to get his brother or his cousin out of like some debt with a some gangster. Um, yeah. So and it's just it's as a movie it's okay. Like it's got some funny moments. There's a bit of a like you can sense or you can see that there's a bit of um like what Joe Coy is passionate about because he includes a little thing about him talking to his agent uh throughout the whole journey about like he's trying to get the lead role or a role on a TV show because he's trying to make it big. He's like a struggling comedian, and his agent is like every conversation it's kind of him, the studio and the agent trying to push him to do a Filipino accent, so that he can be like the goofy side or like the goofy comic relief, which is like not something he wants to do. He doesn't want to be a caricature, and he's like putting his opportunity at risk because of that. Um, So I mean, I'm gonna pause there. There's I explained a lot. Carson, I know I made you watch this movie. Curious to see what you thought from your again unique perspective.
So, from an outsider perspective, like you said, okay, here's a movie we're gonna watch. I looked at the reviews and they all looked pretty bad. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be a bad movie, and maybe because I had those expectations going in, I I liked it more than I thought I would. Like, it's definitely not a great movie. It's a pretty standard or comedy vehicle for obviously a stand-up comedian who I didn't know he was a stand-up comedian before watching it, but when there's a church
You
scene
find
that
that out pretty fast.
yeah, there's a scene where they're in a church and for no real reason he just starts doing stand-up comedy in front of the entire church, which was interesting. But like maybe I don't appreciate fully like all the Filipino culture, but like you definitely know that that's what they're going for. It's like, okay, here's a very standard plot, a very standard like, comedic storyline to wrap it around, but really they're trying to showcase Filipino culture, and even if I can't relate to it, like I get what they're going for, and I think they delivered that fine enough. I do have some questions about Filipino culture that I'll maybe get into. But I would say like as a whole, not terrible, not great. It's just like it's a whatever comedy movie.
Yeah, I would like to call out like whenever there's a comedy movie and it's what's it called, and it stars a stand-up comedian. I find that they do that a lot. I think the way that Joe Coy did it, like him doing his stand-up routine basically at the church, because the priest like hands him the mic for not listening or something. Yeah, I find a lot of stand-up comedians find a way to include that in their movies. Like Chris Rock comes to mind. He does that a lot. I don't know if you've ever seen Down to Earth. Probably one of my favorite comedy movies where he's like he gets he dies and he's like he gets reincarnated.
I think I
Because he
watched it
wasn't
a long
supposed to
time ago,
die.
but I don't remember it.
Yeah, but anyways, there's like one scene where he's like he's in a board meeting, and it's literally the same thing except instead of a church, it's a board meeting, and he's like doing his stand-up routine in front of like just in front of like a bunch of office people. But I mean, Joe Coy's was definitely a little more out of left field.
Yeah, you got to be a little more subtle than that.
Yeah, I did get that feeling too. But yeah, I mean, as a movie, I like it. It was pretty standard, nothing special, and it's hard to rate it as a movie, especially for me. It's kind of how I saw. I think it was the Five Bloods when we talked about that before. I watched that more of like a statement than a movie. And obviously it's strange to compare that to this because it's just like a silly comedy movie, but there are like themes that I could see at least that make it a little more than that. So what kind of questions were you did you have?
Well, so I'm curious about that statement you just made there of like something that's more of a statement. Like I saw this as a pretty straightforward, like, hey, we're just gonna have fun and showcase Filipino culture, but I wasn't thinking about it from like a statement perspective. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, okay. Actually, that's not quite fair for me to say that because I also have the added benefit of having seen his stand up. And he especially so when he was in Toronto, he did I went to see his stand up and he talked a lot, like a lot of it was unscripted. He was kind of just talking to the audience, and I felt like he needed to get a lot of things off his chest because I think his movie had just come out. It kind of just bombed. And he lost quite a bit of money. And he talked about his journey, like getting his special on Netflix. So maybe more of it is based off the context that I have from his stand-up. But I'll give you the Cliff's notes without giving away his set. Basically, he has a bit about like how he put all of his own money into filming his own special, like his first one, so that Netflix would would take notice of him and put him on on their platform, and how that was a struggle, and how he's been going through things where like he'll make appearances and the people like the hosts will tell him not to do like accent jokes, and then he'll be like, okay, but you don't tell other people to not do like a white Southern accent, right? So that kind of thing. And then this is where it went really unscripted. I feel like I could tell during the stand-up set, but he was talking about how like basically you have to you have to support what you want to see in the movies, right? Like he made a kind of a random point, which was also something that I've noticed a little bit, but not realized that I've noticed. But like Bollywood movies will be in like theaters like Cineplex or just main like big theaters. And you and me, Carson, I would assume that you don't know too much about Bollywood movies. I've never seen one. I've seen clips on like Facebook randomly. But they actually do play in big theaters. And he was saying like that's because people who are like people support Indian movies, like the people of that culture actually go out and spend their money to go watch it in the theater, which is why they can stay in the theater. And he's kind of drawing parallels to that and Filipino people, because obviously the same thing didn't really happen for him. And it hasn't really happened for anyone, any other Filipino actor. So it's definitely a lot more based on the stand-up, but it made me watch the movie through a different lens. So I have a bit of an unfair advantage over the way that you saw it.
Yeah, like I understand the logic of that. I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm not necessarily saying I disagree, but so for example, Black Panther came out and everyone was raving about it, how it's this, great movie and you got to support it for, support the cause. And obviously that, caught behind the marketing and made it a lot of money. It wasn't a particularly great movie. It was fine. It was okay. But it's like, okay, it got a lot more noise because of what it was doing. And it wasn't the first black superhero movie. It was, it picked it up a kind of a marketing thing more so than what it actually meant. But if it means something to a certain people, then you can't deny that. Like I can't sit here as a white person and say, hey, like, don't think Black Panther is inspirational or something like that, because that's obviously like not in a position to say that. And yeah, like if you want to see more of something, obviously it has to be financially sustainable. So I understand like getting it off the ground and supporting these initiatives at the beginning, but they have to be good and they have to go somewhere at a certain point. And it's interesting. A long time ago, we talked, we had Tyler and Rebecca as guests on this podcast, and we were talking, I think, about the 2016 Ghostbusters movie. And I was like, okay, do you really want like all these women empowerment movies if this is what they end up being? And she said something that I didn't expect, but which was really like, yes, I want all the bad movies because we get those too, and then we'll build off of those and we'll do more things. And it's like, I don't know if that's where I see Easter Sunday. Like, is it starting it off? Is it getting more roles? Like, one of the questions I had, and I know we don't have to answer it, but it's like, of this cast, maybe, there isn't a whole set of Joe Coy movies, but does anyone get exposure from this movie that helps them in their career? And because you have basically an all Filipino cast, like, does somebody's career get launched by this, or do they, go on to other things? So I don't disagree with the whole thing. I think you should support movies that come from diverse audiences, not from the perspective of, I don't know, feel good or whatever like that. It's like, I watch a lot of movies and they're becoming really boring and all the same, and I would like more people to say different things. And so in that aim, I do like supporting different movies, whether they're different because of race or culture or anything else. It's just purely from like, let's do more different things. Yeah, I don't know what point I'm making anymore.
Well, I mean, from you mentioning that, that's kind of one of the problems that I do have with the movie, because like you said, it sure it can be like representing a different culture, but it also has to be a good movie. And I mean, it's his first one. Like you can't, I can't really expect too much. But aside from the little things that he included about like not wanting to do an accent, not wanting to be like a caricature of a Filipino person, um, everything else, like the comedy bits or like the whole plot and everything, it is kind of standard. Like it follows the basic formula of a comedy movie, and it doesn't really move the needle that much in that sense. So I mean, yeah, that's why it's difficult. Um, it's both difficult and hard for me to judge it as just like a regular movie, because I get what he's trying to do, but at the same time, like just as a straight up movie, it was okay. I mean, you even like some of the Filipino things, like you got karaoke, Manny Pacquiao jokes. I forget what else. It's like stuff that I'm used to. I don't know what it's like to experience those jokes in a movie from a different perspective, but um, yeah, I don't know.
So here's I'm gonna ask the dumb straight white person question here. What what does it mean to be represented in film? Because from my perspective, every movie I've ever seen basically has either starred or been written by or been directed by a white guy. And so
Hmm.
obviously that bleeds into like all the characters and the stories and the perspectives and all that. And like I have no idea what it means to not be represented in film. And so that's what I've tried to think about is like, and I'm trying to think if there are any examples that do touch on a part of my identity or culture that made me more represented in a film more so than an average thing. But I don't know if that's something you can answer of like, what is it? What is the feeling? Like, what does that mean to be represented?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can answer it either. Like it's for you. I'll speak for you a little bit, I guess, because the for your representation or white people, it's the default, right? Like, just any movie that you're gonna go see is it's just it's normal. And I mentioned this to one of my friends before about we were talking about something slightly different. I think it was like female superheroes or something like that, and he was saying like, oh, I don't know how I feel about like these like girl power type things. Kind of the same thing that, well, not the same thing that you were saying before to on the podcast about Ghostbusters.
Rebecca? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not exactly the same thing, but and I was telling him like, okay, maybe you feel like there's a lot of it now, um, but it's really like two or three movies, and you're only really noticing it because the default is not that, right? So when you see two or three of these things, then it feels like a lot when it's really not. There's like hundreds of movies that come out every year. Um, which I realize doesn't completely answer your question, but I mean, if I'm really trying to grasp here, I feel like just looking at the same kind of story through a different lens, which I recognize, again, it's one of my complaints about Easter Sunday. It doesn't really do that a whole lot. I mean, some of the themes in it are like they talk about, I don't know, like how uh, there's the family drama, which is like supposed to be kind of uniquely Filipino, about like his aunt and his mother holding grudges and stuff like that, and um, he has the uncle who has a bunch of like weapons, for no for no reason, which is not. I didn't really think that was a specifically Filipino thing, but then at the same time, I feel like it's not. He also didn't want it to just be straight up Filipino. Like it's another thing that he had mentioned. I think this was part of his stand up where he was saying like, I do the accent or I imitate my mom or I talk about these stories because Not because it's funny that she sounds like this way or because she does these things, but it's because other mothers are like this too, right? And so he's drawing parallels between not just Filipinos but other just people, which I mean, I guess
And that's one thing I'm
makes
trying to get at with my question is like a movie like this. I'm not alienated. Like I can relate to the characters. They're pretty universal things. A female
yeah.
superhero movie, I can still relate to the main character. For me, there's not much of a downside to seeing more people that are different from me in the main roles because it doesn't prevent me from enjoying the movie. And so
Hmm.
that's gonna make me pose the question that I already know is wrong. But it's like if I can relate to other people, then they can also relate to other people, and then it doesn't really matter. And I think the perspective is like, you saw some of this with the reactions to some of the Little Mermaid trailers that came out of like if you've
Oh,
never been represented and you see it for the first time, that's meaningful to somebody. And on the flip side, it's not at all deterring me from enjoying the movie. I mean, I'm not going to because I don't like live action Disney movies, but if I was somebody
yeah.
who did, casting somebody who's different from me does not detract from it. So that's where it comes back of like, I don't understand what it means to be not represented in film to the point where seeing somebody like me would make me interested in it. And I know that
Hmm.
that's like I'm self-aware enough to say that like not to say like it's not a problem. I know it's an issue. I know it's a thing that exists out there. But I just truly can't relate to it. And I really been trying to think of characters or movies that would be more specific to my identity. Like there's no Saskatchewan person in film, or like that part of culture. So like there's like Saskatchewan TV shows, but even then I don't really relate to it. So I don't know. I've been trying to think like I've been trying to put myself in that mindset to understand it, and I just
Hmm.
really can't.
Well, and I think that's the difficulty of trying to represent like a certain culture, like without just being straight up karaoke, Manny Pacquiao, like you know, because if you don't include some of those things, it's hard to strike a balance because if you don't include some of those things, then it's just a regular old story, right? It's you have to be a really creative or talented writer or director to convey some of those things without kind of like hitting people over the head with it. So I mean, I don't know either, and that's probably why I'm sitting here with you not writing movies.
Like I think they did a decent enough job. Like as somebody who doesn't understand Filipino culture, like I know who Manny Pacquiao is. I know who Lou Diamond Phillips is. A crazy
Yeah.
uncle with weapons. I don't need to know someone like that to kind of appreciate the comedy behind it. Like it's. I feel like I was learning a bit about Filipino culture, but it didn't like. I'm sure there were some jokes that went over my head that I didn't fully understand or like didn't appreciate because it didn't, can't relate to that aspect of Filipino culture. But like most of the jokes, 95% of what was in the movie, like I understood what the joke was. Not all of them
Yeah.
were funny because they're not all good jokes, but it's not like I didn't understand it.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't even think most people who did watch the movie even really know who Lou Diamond Phillips is.
That was going to be my one of my questions. Do Filipinos really like Lou Diamond Phillips? Because for me, he's kind of just like a fringe star guy.
I honestly think he was there because there's no one else, and Tia Carrere is already playing a role. Like, there's not really like, I mean, again the difficulty because there's not really anyone that I can think of, at least aside from Manny Pacquiao, that would just be instantly recognizable and kind of like ambiguously Filipino to make that joke work. Which is basically, sorry, explanation for everyone who didn't see the movie, which means everyone. Like I don't even remember. Like it's Lou Diamond Phillips is he's supposed to be a secret buyer, or there's a secret buyer who they're hoping to sell Manny Pacquiao's gloves to. And it turns out to be Lou Diamond Phillips. There's a little thing about the cousin who stole Manny Pacquiao's gloves. He wants to sell it to a Filipino because it's part of his culture and it should be with a Filipino. Like that's his whole reasoning. And then there's like I think there's a bit of a joke there because they don't really know if Lou Diamond Phillips is Filipino either. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's literally no one else that I could think of that could make that joke work. But then also, again, no one really knows who Lou Diamond Phillips is. Sorry, Lou.
Yeah, and like they at least prefaced it early in the movie. Like they talked about Lou Diamond Phillips as a Filipino celebrity, and so even if you full disclosure, I know Lou Diamond Phillips the name. I didn't know he was Filipino. And so it's like, okay, here's a name that people have probably heard before. Even if you don't know who he is, you're like, Lou Diamond Phillips, I think I've heard that name somewhere. So it's like they prefaced it the right way that like the joke lands. And it's like you understand that this is a person that's important to them, regardless of whether he's not important to you or not.
Yeah.
That was going to be one of my questions, though, of like who else would have been, but yeah, I guess you answered that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like the only reason that he's kind of important is because they say he's important earlier in the movie, which is that setup. Like there's like the reveal is not really a reveal because like it's Lou Diamond Phillips. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't have much more to say about him.
It's funny because the way that they revealed him was like a garage door going up and you could hear music being like, this is a reveal. This is a big important person.
Yeah.
And then it shows the face and I was like, who's that? And then they're like, oh, and then they mention it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I personally didn't even know he was Filipino. Like I seen him in what's that movie with Meg Ryan and Denzel Washington? He's like an army lawyer or investigator. And then Lou Diamond Phillips is like the bad guy and he kills himself by driving into a train.
Courage Under
because
Fire.
He did something bad. Yes, that's the one.
That's the first thing that shows up on his IMDb page.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the biggest movie that he's done. But yeah, like I remember him from that. And I not for 1 second thought he might be Filipino.
Second question on Filipinos. Of the other, like basically everyone else in the cast, is there any of those people that are actually noteworthy outside of Lou Diamond Phillips, Tia Carrere, and Joe Coy? I guess there's some non-Filipinos there. And then kind of part two of that question, do you think anyone from this career who is unknown is going to have their career launched because of this?
Yeah, so no, I don't know. At least of the Filipino cast members, I don't recognize any of them. I know I recognized one of them from Joe Coy's tour, he's also a stand-up comic. His name's Joey Gila, who was actually pretty funny. And I think he might be only half. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, like really don't recognize any of them. His son, maybe, but I don't even think he's Filipino at all. I'm not sure, and I'm going to spend too much time of us recording trying to find out. And the only one I would have said might like it's not going to launch anyone's career, but it's just like I don't know if I would even call it a stepping stone for this movie, but I think the son has done some other things, like the Netflix series. I Think You Should Leave. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Apparently, it's a pretty popular comedy series, or it's like sketch comedy. But that's like the most quote unquote up and coming thing that I can think of. He was also in like one of the Borat movies. He's in Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know how big his roles are, and I'm really stretching here.
Yeah, I didn't know any of them. The one person that I thought did a really good job was the brother, Eugene. The guy who like is in trouble with the law because he stole, or not with the law, but stole Manny Pacquiao's gloves. Anyway, he did a good job. I hope he's in more things.
Yeah, he actually is. He's probably the most successful out of the side characters. He does a bunch of like character bits. Like he was in The Good Place. Um, he was in Kong Skull Island. That
I
was
just
pretty
saw that
big.
on his IMDb.
Yeah, he does a lot. It's just like a lot of side character stuff. Um, and I'm fairly certain he's not Filipino, which I think was one of the requirements of your question, or one of the criteria of your question. Um, the only other person, and again, I'm reaching pretty far, is that I think did a good job and could maybe do more things, was the love interest for his son. Her name is Eva Noblezada, which is a very Filipino name. But I mean, even then, it was really just showcasing Joe Coy, and her part was probably the next biggest, I guess, or next most special of the Filipino characters.
I would be surprised if any of the family members were not Filipino, because it feels like this is the type of movie where your one requirement to be cast is to be Filipino.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, right? Like, I guess this is where I lose all visibility, but I suppose it's hard to strike that balance between hiring all Filipinos and having people in the movie that like general audiences want to see. Which, I mean, they're not gaining that much more by casting Eugene Cordero. No disrespect to him, but yeah, there's not a lot of familiar faces. Oh, Tiffany Haddish was in it. I just remembered. But like, it's not much of a draw either.
She does a lot of random stuff these days, so I'm not a particular fan of hers nor the character she played in this movie, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Side note, she kind of disappeared, didn't she? She was like everywhere. I think
I
maybe
remember
last year or the year before.
Yeah, she was in some, I want to say like bachelorette party movie, and then everyone was raving about her. And then I remember people
Yeah.
talking about her, and then I finally saw her in a movie, and I was like, oh, that's what everyone's raving about? I feel like she has
Yeah.
kind of a shtick where it's like, she doesn't have a lot of range.
Yeah.
Although she was
I,
in a movie with Oscar Isaac, that was about like a gambling movie last year, where she did something that was pretty different than what she usually does, and she was actually pretty good in it. So I hope she kind of steers away from the stereotype that she's kind of built for herself and kind of does more stuff, because she probably is better than I think. But
than her regular character.
yeah, that same character that she plays every single time.
Yeah. I mean, she was also in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which I loved. And she was okay in it as well. Tiny role, but
I forgot she was in that, which I
yeah,
didn't mind that movie.
very tiny role. Didn't mind. Oh, jeez. We'll fight about that later.
On a side, completely steering this conversation in a different direction. So we had touched a little bit. I was saying that when I see other people that aren't like me as leading characters, it doesn't really detract me or anything. I wanted to talk about some tests I took on a Harvard website. If you look up Harvard implicit association tests, it's actually a very interesting, and we are not sponsored by Harvard here. Anyway, there's these tests you can take that kind of test your brain to see what internal bias you have. And so here's an example of one of the tests. It'll show you either a word or a picture, and you click right or left. On one version of the test, you'll show words that are either good or bad, and they'll show you a picture that's either Christian or Muslim. And on the first test, it's like Christian and good, you click right, Muslim and bad, you click left, and it measures your reaction times. And then they flip that around to say like Muslim and good, you click right, Christianity and bad, you click left. And it measures your reaction times the first time to the second time to say like how easily do you associate those two things. Anyway, very interesting tests that like I would hope that I'm not somebody who super like has a lot of bias, but like I do that and it's like, oh shit, my brain is really wired a certain way. The one thing that I had an even result on was identity when it comes to gender. It said that I slightly identified as female more than male.
You slightly identified yourself?
The test results said, because one of the things is like you click certain ways that's like me versus like
Yeah.
words that are other, and then like pictures of male versus female.
Oh,
And it said
okay.
that my reaction times indicate that I have more of a female identity than a male identity, which was an interesting result. But anyway, I recommend
I'm
going and
okay.
doing some of these tests because they are interesting.
I probably will. I'm curious now. What like for that Christian Muslim example, what if I like take 20 minutes to answer that question? Does that is that like affects the result?
Well, the whole thing is
Or you
like
have to do it as fast as possible. It's like your
yeah,
first impression.
everything is as fast as possible. So it's like the
Oh,
difference
okay.
between half a second and a second. And like your brain, like as you're doing the test, you will realize that your brain is having a harder time associating some things together. So like you know the result before you see the results. It's hard to explain without actually going and doing the test, but
Okay. I'll keep that in mind because I'm interested now. One other thing that I wanted to mention, it's because Easter Sunday gave me like throwback vibes to a movie from the year 2000. It's probably the only other like Filipino focused movie in like Western theater cinema. I don't know. I feel like saying theater or cinema makes it sound too like fancy. But anyways, it was a movie called The Debut, and that was the last time I remember any conversation um, about like, oh wow, there's like a Filipino like a movie with Filipino people, and it what's his name in Peter Pan, the uh, geez, the Peter Pan
Rufio.
movie with Rufio, yes, he was probably like the most famous Filipino actor uh, before. Oh my God, there's no one else really. I guess before Joe Coy, unless I'm doing it like I'm egregiously missing someone. But yeah, he had like a very brief run launched by his role as Rufio, and then I don't know any backstory around the debut, but I guess he starred in it, and I think I'm pretty sure that he had a big hand in like just getting it made in general because I looked at the IMDb page for that movie and I like a lot of his family, like I think his immediate family are cast in it just based by their last names, Basco. Um, so yeah, I just thought it was interesting, like this this kind of happened 20 years ago, no, but not really, and then I guess nothing really came out of it. So I guess it doesn't bode well for Joe Coy and his mission.
I I would think that audiences are slightly more receptive to it than they were 20 years ago. But I think our society has a way of moving backwards more than I thought. I was thinking about this the other day, and it's like, so this is a very naive Saskatchewan perspective. But I feel like when I was in high school, it's like we knew racism was a thing, but it's like it was from an older generation and it was going away. And it was like, oh, one day we're going to be in the future, and as people like us are adults, it's going to be gone. And that did not happen. And that, yeah, just continually surprised by the world that
Yeah.
we live in.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But then also a negative point. The debut was a much better movie than Easter Sunday. Um, and I don't think I'm just saying that because of like nostalgia. It was actually pretty good, and it didn't go anywhere. Poor Dante Basco. But yeah, that's my little that was my soapbox. I think I was just really I was really inspired by the extra context that I got when Joe Coy was going off his little a bit of a rant during his stand-up special, which was still really good. Um, yeah, and I was just thinking of like um, for like another example of when I was trying to get into the whole acting thing, like when I was a lot younger, at least doing like extra work and stuff like that. And I have family members or like extended family members who I was having the conversation with about like, oh yeah, what's it like? Because they've been in like TV shows and stuff like that. And so there's one conversation that really stuck with me. This like I took no offense or anything. It's not a bad thing. I just thought it was really interesting. But so my cousin is married to a white man. They're both in the industry. And he's been in some TV shows. I was asking him just we were at a family outing, and I was asking him like, yeah. So I mean, I've always been interested in like doing stuff like this, like acting. What's it like? Do you have any like advice or tips or whatever? It's like half serious because I'm not going to quit my 9 to 5 job. And then he was saying like just completely seriously, it's not a joke or anything. It's just based on his knowledge of the industry and how it works. He was saying like, yeah, I mean, you should definitely do it. Like, I look at you and I see like you would definitely be a good for like a like the he didn't say sidekick, but like the best friend type role. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And even right when he said it, I didn't take offense to it. I just understood that like that's how studios see people, right? Like it's not like no, you're never gonna be, well, not never, but you're rarely considered as like the lead role. And it's just the reality of how it is. Because he just said it so naturally, like it wasn't even an insult or anything. So I just thought that was really interesting.
You could be Spider-Man's best friend, but you can't be Spider-Man.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I would happily be Spider-Man's best friend if I could quit my job at 33 years old and act like a high school student.
Didn't there's a decent amount of like famous people. I think like Brendan Gleeson, he started like when he was quite older. I think Samuel L. Jackson didn't get a good role until he was later. You could do it.
Yeah. Given up on that dream a long time ago. Unless this podcast really launches us, you know.
Yeah, maybe if Hollywood is running out of cranky old people when I'm 70, I can make the shift.
Yeah, I think so I guess we could transition to our the other thing that we wanted to talk about, which is focused on a bit of what was it called? House of the Dragon, but mostly the critical reaction, not critical, actually fan reaction to Rings of Power. It's been out for a little while now, and it just the initial reaction just kind of pissed me off. We touched on this a little bit about how like when you change the rate, like when studios change the race of a known character, and then people have this like stupid like overreaction. We saw a lot of that, I think, about Rings of Power. Rings of Power. So I mean, I guess what did you see?
I was never that interested in Rings of Power because it always kind of seemed like a big money grab in the beginning, and I'm obviously opposed to that for anyone who has listened to previous episodes of ours. But there was a lot of focus in the initial advertising and audience reception around like the recasting of Race. I watched the first 4 episodes. I don't know if I'm going to keep watching it or not, but anyway, I thought I'd check it out. There is really like the bare minimum of roles that they have given to diverse people. They did like one hobbit is a black guy and like one elf, and then like the character poster that was most used by people complaining about it was like the black dwarf. And she's in 2 scenes in like 5 episodes. She's a very minor character. She does an okay, fine job. And it's like, it makes me kind of curious about, like, is there going to be push back to the reception of Rings of Power? Are they going to say, oh, we can't have this much diversity, but this much diversity is really the minimum you could do? So yeah, like and just to kind of like touch on each of the roles, like the guy who plays the Hobbit, I hate all of the Hobbits in this show, but he's probably the best because he's like probably the most serious of like taking his role seriously.
Yeah.
The Black Elf, he's like whatever, forgettable character, but he's barely in it. And then the dwarf, again, she's in 2 scenes. So I thought they were, I don't know, like if there was no reaction to it, I probably wouldn't have noticed it at all. And then you go to like House of the Dragon, like people were complaining like, oh, people with white hair but black skin, how does that make sense? But it's like, it's very well explained in the show that it's like he's an entirely like a whole family that's these characters. And it's like, I don't understand what people are complaining about. And the question I was going to pose to you is, if you were a Hollywood executive, taking on the next like $1 billion franchise, I don't know how many of them are left that haven't been ruined yet, but let's say like DC gets back on track, they're going to reboot Justice League or something. You can't put no diversity because there's the whole like Oscars so white thing and like that. Just, you can't just have all white people anymore. I think we're past that. But if you really put like the minimum amount of diverse characters, you're going to get all this backlash from like the anti-woke crowd. So it's like, what do you do? What can you even do anymore without somebody complaining?
Well, I mean, before I even attempt to answer your question, I feel like it's hard for me to gauge the backlash for especially for Rings of Power, because I couldn't really tell if yes, there are the people that were genuinely upset by it, and those people are idiots. Because of all the points that you just made, it makes no sense. Like, these are all side characters. It's the bare minimum. I probably wouldn't have noticed at all either if there wasn't this news about it. But I couldn't really tell if it's just like really a vocal, like a case of the dumbest people being the loudest, right? Because like I also I read a lot of the stuff on the Reddit for Lord of the Rings and House of the Dragon. And I mean, it's always a cycle of like almost every post is the same cycle of, oh, I don't like this, but I don't like it. I don't not like it because of race. I don't like it because of bad writing. And then that's always like the excuse, whether it's genuine or not. It's just so hard it's so hard for me to measure. But I don't think that there was enough backlash for a studio to like reverse that kind of decision and say, with DC, like, change Cyborg to a white guy. I don't think I don't think it moves the needle enough in the wrong direction.
There was a video a few years ago of one of my favorite YouTube channels, Red Letter Media, where they have a character called Scientist Man, where he does like jokingly scientifically analyzing the Hollywood industry. And they had a video about 2016 Ghostbusters where they were kind of suggesting that Sony propped up the like misogynist voice to say, hey, you need to support this movie if you're not misogynist. Which certainly got more people talking about it. Obviously more people care about that movie than what it deserved, because quite frankly, it was just a bad movie that should have been forgotten about overnight, but everyone was talking about it for like a whole year. And so I wonder how much of this is either purposely antagonizing people or like propping up voices on certain crowds to get more people talking about it, because you come out with something like Rings of Power, and Amazon had previously done The Expanse, which was something that they put millions, if not like a lot of money behind. And like, no one really cared about The Expanse. I like The Expanse. I'm sad that it got canceled. It was a good show. But like, they put a big bet down on it. And the worst thing that can happen to a studio is to just have no one care about it. And regardless of how you feel about the Rings of Power, people are talking about it. And it's almost like one of these fail safes of like, okay, you have a controversy, regardless of whether the show ends up being good or bad, people are talking about it.
Yeah. But I mean, doesn't it? I mean, that could very well be, but I feel like, especially with streaming, doesn't it? Don't they judge the success on how many people watch it? Unless this kind of conspiracy about just making news about it kind of convinces people to go and watch it, right?
I feel like there is a lot of people who watch it so that they know how to make fun of it. And it's the same with like She-Hulk these days. I mean, like, you got to be the first one to screenshot it so you can start the meme that week. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it does contribute to more people, because it's not just like viewing. It's like, how many subscribers do they have? How many people are actually signing up for their platform?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, because I feel like I don't even think that it's that bad. Like Rings of Power, definitely. It's strange because of Power and House of the Dragon they've kind of had like opposite trajectories for me. Rings of Power kind of started off really slow. I was kind of uninterested, but now that it's starting to pick up a little bit, I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit more. It's still kind of like okay, it's meh. But now that they've like given less screen time to um the different race of people. No, I'm just kidding. um yeah, it's just picked up. And like I feel like, and that's one of the reasons why it's hard for me to gauge whether like the criticisms are like actually based on race, or if it's really because like the first 2 or 3 episodes were kind of slow and boring. And then on the opposite side, House of the Dragon, this has less to do with race, but it's going back to like opposite trajectory. First 2 or 3 episodes were really good, and now it's kind of like the most recent 3 have been a bit of a mess. Um,
I feel quite differently. I was entertained from the beginning in House of the Dragon, and I am continually entertained with where they're going. Rings of Power.
I'm still entertained.
Yeah.
Okay.
I almost wanted to keep watching until the end of the season for Rings of Power, because I was like, oh, they're doing some things here. But the downside for me on that one is like, you know where it ends. You know exactly where every character is going to end up. So
yeah.
Which you could argue,
well, I mean,
House of the Dragon is the same.
It does, yeah. But I mean, I'm unfamiliar with both of these prequel stories. I mean, from the books. House of the Dragon, I will say, like, I'll be clear, like, I still really enjoy the show, but the last couple episodes especially have been like kind of chaotic, especially the wedding. There's like all this random stuff happening, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It feels like they just sped through a lot of things. And then Rings of Power, I'm getting into a little more now, because it's like the Rogue One effect, where it's like a bunch of slow stuff, and then it feels like there's a big battle coming. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But I mean, still, expectations pretty low. But yeah, I feel like we've completely.
So on a similar topic to what we were trying to talk about, the movie Bros, which is a gay rom-com movie, so you told me about this, and you said there was something going on with the circumstances of how it's being reviewed. I go on and I see there's like a lot of amazing reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like 95% fresh, even though it hasn't come out. And I guess the point that you were trying to make is like it was being review bombed just because it was gay. I thought you were coming in from the perspective of all the critics are being bullied to like it, because if you don't, then you're called like a homophobe or something. So I prepped incorrectly for that one.
Oh my God, I'm so offended that you would think of me that way. I've made it clear on episodes before where I find it funny when people are made to be uncomfortable. Like, for example, Titan, going back to that movie that I absolutely hate, where the girl on the run pretending to be the guy's son, the firefighter's son, they're having a party, and then they're all cheering him on, like telling him to dance, and then he starts like sexy girl dancing, and they're all like, "Oh, shit, this is awkward." I feel like Bros is the movie embodiment. Oh, sorry, Titan is a movie, but it's like the movie equivalent of that one vibe. And I was bringing it up to you before because yes, I'm fairly certain it was being review bombed because I guess about a week ago or a week and a half ago when I first brought it up, it was like there weren't, and I'm pretty sure there weren't even any advanced screenings yet. Like it's just the trailer was out. It was very obvious that it was a gay rom-com, made jokes about straight people, that I'm sure were purposely done to make trolls mad. And I guess it succeeded because a weekend or like 2 weeks before the movie came out, like the rating was at like 4 or 5 out of 10 on IMDb. I can't remember what it was on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think there was any ratings at all, actually. But there weren't reviews, like there weren't any typed out reviews, obviously, because I don't think the movie had been shown anywhere. But I was looking at the data. This is the first time I've ever done this, but I looked at the data for the reviews on Bros on IMDb, and it was like out of 800 reviews, there was like 600 50-year-old males, 50-plus-year-old males, like voting 1 star or something like that. And it just like I just thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And it's funny now because you can't see it anymore because I went back onto the IMDb page today and it's completely gone. You cannot see that data anymore. The rating. So when you Google the movie, the Google search brings up the rating, but when you're actually on the IMDb page, it does not show the rating anymore. So I mean, I feel like this was an actual, like, contrary to the Ghostbusters theory, I'm pretty sure that this was a legitimate case of review bombing, not just the studio trying to drum up interest for the movie, which actually looks pretty funny. I mean, based off the trailer that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I don't really care about rom-coms, so I watch this trailer and it's like, yeah, it's a rom-com. I don't care one way or another about it. It's currently 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think also feeds back into some of the Rings and Power stuff, because Rings of Power is like 90% critic reception and like 30% audience reception. And it's like, okay, on one hand, it's being review bombed by the other side, and the solution that the other side has come up with to review bomb it in the other direction, or like whatever the opposite of a bomb is. And it made me think, because I was looking into it at one point, of like, okay, how popular would this podcast have to be for us to get a Rotten Tomato critic score? And then I was thinking like, okay, because Rotten Tomato has been accused of this by one side or the other, of like trying to prop up reviews, of like, if they kind of gave us a probationary 1-year period to say like, okay, you're a review, but if we ever have to delete one of your reviews, we're going to delete your account. It's like, would I review a show or a movie differently than what I thought to try to go along with the supported narrative? And I'm too stubborn, so I probably wouldn't. But
I think they would remove your reviews so fast about a lot of mainstream things.
But then I could brag about being deleted from Rotten Tomatoes, so
I'm being censored. Yeah, well, Rotten Tomatoes, if you're listening, you'll have a fair and balanced opinion because you have both sides, completely opposite perspective most of the time. For both of us, just give us 2 reviews.
So it's funny because I was looking into like the application for it, and like they have like certain criteria of like certain number of subscribers, blah 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 blah. But they're like, oh, we'll consider it somebody who's below these criterias if they're part of a diverse audience. And it's like, okay, this episode is not an attempt to please the Rotten Tomatoes critics. You came up with this on your own, but
it was 100% my idea.
But if you're listening, Rotten Tomatoes, we are representing Filipino cinema here. We need to get this voice out there more.
What other podcast do you think has ever mentioned the movie The Debut? Back in the year 2000, podcasts weren't even a thing. So I feel like we're trailblazing right now. And we are literally the first mention of The Debut on any podcast anywhere. I'm gonna put money on that. I would also suggest, Carson, that you watch The Debut. It's much better than Easter Sunday. I also hold on. I'm going. I'm going to temper. I'm going to walk that back a little bit. I haven't seen it for a long time. I'm sure it was good though.
So if you're curious about what our audience demographic looks like for this conversation, I'm just pulling up our Spotify audience details. 71% male. Here are some of the artists that they listen to. There's no mention of race, so this is my placeholder for race. Top artists: okay. Taylor Swift, Coldplay, Eminem, Ed Sheeran.
What a mix. That's
probably mostly white.
It's a strange. Well, yeah. Well, hopefully you'll start seeing a lot more after this episode. You'll start seeing a lot more Lea Salonga, maybe some Journey in there. These are all related to Filipino artists. If you didn't get it,
is Journey
listeners? The main singer, or the lead singer of Journey is now a Filipino guy. After the original one passed away.
Wait, are we talking about the band from like the 70s, or is there a different...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, Journey.
I didn't know they were still active.
Don't Stop Believin', Journey.
That's the one song I know about them.
Yeah. Maybe they should have used the lead singer from Journey instead of Lou Diamond Phillips. Although he's very obviously Filipino.
Do you know his name?
Arnel Pineda.
Oh, okay.
I know his name because of my parents. They, as soon as he took as soon as he joined the band, my dad had a CD and he was talking to me about him, playing his music on YouTube. My dad does this thing where at home where he'll sit in front of his computer with YouTube playing a song and then he'll sing along to it. There's a lot of Journey playing that way. Anyways, completely off topic. I'm going to throw a curveball at you, Carson, unless you have anything else to add to any more points to get out there.
That is all of the side topics. I covered all of the random tangents I wanted to go on.
Okay. Is there anything you're looking forward to?
I was going to ask you this, and I was going to go into a whole tangent about this because there is a movie coming out tomorrow, which, okay, so stepping back a second. Going back probably the last 20 years, if you were to ask me at any point in time, what is the movie I'm most looking forward to, I could probably pretty easily tell you because there's been a lot of, not all of them have turned out to be good, but big movies. And I'm thinking back to, and this is a while ago, but Transformers. When I first heard about a Transformers movies, I was stoked for it. Ended up disappointing, but anyway, I had that anticipation. And then there was Avengers, and that was more or less delivered. And then you've had movies like Blade Runner 2049. I was looking forward to 2-3 years from the initial announcement. Dune 2-3 years out, super excited. Yeah. And it's what am I looking forward to now? Because there's really no movie, and I know Marvel and Star Wars and whatever, they've all announced their movies. There's really nothing that I've been looking forward to. But one movie that I have been looking forward to for probably about 2 years now is the movie Blonde. Starring Ana de Armas, written directed by Andrew Dominic. For whatever reason, I like that director. I like everything that's been going on with that movie. The trailer comes out. It's really, really good. And finally tomorrow, a movie that I've been anticipating for 2 years finally comes out. And I probably won't be able to watch it for another week or two. But Blonde, to answer your question, I am very much looking forward to and hope that it at least partially delivers. More than Transformers.
Oh. Okay. I wasn't expecting that that. I was expecting that tangent. Um, would it ruin it for you if I told you some of the reviews about it?
Even if the reviews are bad, there's still a good chance that I would like it.
It's fair. I mean, to be fair, the bad reviews or like I feel like the general consensus of the reviews of that movie are that Ana de Armas does a really good job, but it's like I think there was like a little bit of kind of bordering on exploitative, like let Marilyn Monroe be dead kind of thing, and it just wasn't that good. I can't remember.
My understanding of it is it was never meant to be a realistic depiction of her life. It was just meant to be its own
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Which yeah, I get that. It's about is it like a book or something? It follows the story of a fictional book about
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I am looking forward. I'm gonna go all in on what we've talked about today, and I'm gonna pick two movies. I'm looking forward to. Well, no, I'm gonna pick one. I was gonna say Bros is one of them, but I'm probably not gonna watch that in theaters. Um, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Not only because like of hype and Marvel, I'm very curious. I'm kind of invested and curious as to who the next Black Panther is going to be. I'm really hoping it's M'Baku, and it looks like it will be an emotional affair. Especially, I don't know how they're going to handle the whole Chadwick Boseman thing. Rest in peace.
So I had a lot of that movie ruined for me, which I won't go into at all.
Oh my
But
God! Please
as
don't.
you as you
How?
may as you may or may not know, I'm a Lego fan, and there is a community of people that leak future Lego sets, and they have leaked
Oh my!
sets that talk about the movie and what happens. So I have had
What?
that spoiled for me. So yeah, don't look into Black Panther Lego because you'll have stuff ruined
Okay.
for you.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, there wasn't much of a danger of that to begin with, but I definitely won't. I'll keep an eye out. Um, okay, well, yeah, that was our episode. We'll thanks for listening. And we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.